Qantas to cut 6,000 jobs. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. It looks like Qantas is cutting 6,000 jobs with their request to be placed in a share trading halt for ASX. Now before we go through the market announcement and the speech from the CEO, let's jump over here and have a look at the share price for Qantas. So it's $4.19 at the moment. We'll jump back to 6 months and you can see they've been hit since February at $6.67. So they took a bit of a dive, a little bit of recovery, and we'll have to see how this market announcement and this cut to jobs plays out. Will the market respond positively to potential savings of the airline, or are they concerned about the future of the airline? Tourism, as you know, is a big part of the Australian economy, $60 billion worth. Huge employer, but it's pretty much been, well, destroyed. It's all on lockdown right now. Flights are lower than ever. Tourism are lower than ever. We can't even go between borders of different states. So let's go through this. And this is a market announcement that came out this morning. So the securities of Qantas Airways Limited, QAN, will be placed in trading halt at the request of QAN, pending it releasing an announcement. Unless ASX decides otherwise, the securities will remain in trading halt until the earlier of the commencement of normal trade on Monday the 29th of June 2020, or when its announcement is released to the market. We can see here, this is their request for a trading halt. So we'll see. We see this happens in the market, so you don't get panic selling or panic activity. For the purpose of listing Rule 17.1, Qantas provides the following information. Qantas is seeking the trading halt pending Qantas making an announcement to the ASX in connection with a capital raising comprising an institutional placement and a share purchase plan. Qantas requests that the trading halt remain in place until the earlier of Qantas making an announcement to the market about the completion of the placement and the commencement of trading on Friday, the 26th of June. Qantas expects that the trading halt will be ended by making an announcement to the ASX in relation to completion of the placement, and Qantas is not aware of any reason why the trading halt should not be granted. So let's jump over here and let's have a look at this speech made by the CEO of Qantas, and let's have a look at this. We'll go through this, everyone. Let's see what we can get from it. Good morning. Today we're making some very significant and in some cases very difficult announcements about the future of the Qantas Group. And they are focused on exactly that, making sure the national carrier has a strong future. Aviation is used to sudden shocks. Qantas has dealt with several just in the past decade and come through them stronger. But we've never experienced anything like this before. No one has. Right now, all airlines are in the middle of the biggest crisis our industry has ever faced. Efforts to contain the pandemic, which we all agree are so important, have devastated travel demand almost overnight. Airline revenues have collapsed, entire fleets are grounded, and the world's biggest carriers are taking extreme actions just to survive. The Qantas Group entered this crisis in better shape than most. We've used record profits to strengthen our balance sheet. We've built the leading full-service and low-cost, low-fares airline in our home market. We've carved out a separate earnings stream with Qantas Loyalty, and this gives us some of the brightest prospects for recovery. But this crisis has still hit us very hard, and the impact will be felt for a long time, particularly, I'm very sorry to say, the impact on our people. There are some green shoots domestically. We're planning to bring back up to 40% of our pre-pandemic domestic flying during July and hopefully more in the months that follow. But we'll be living with the pandemic for some time, and recent events showed we can't take low infection rates for granted. It's clear that international travel is likely to be stalled for some time. IATA, the peak body for airlines, says it will take more than 3 years for global travel to return to 2019 levels. 3 years. And just think back to the articles where we were learning about the novice investors buying in these companies, expecting tourism to bounce back. 3 years. I mean, it's $4.20 now. Do you think we'll see Qantas sub $1? Do you think that's possible? That means all airlines, including Qantas, must take action now. We have to position ourselves for several years where revenues will be much lower, and that means becoming a smaller airline in the short term. So this is their 3-year plan. Today, we're announcing a 3-year plan to guide our recovery and take us through to better days ahead. It's a plan I've agreed to stay on as Group CEO to see through. The plan has 3 immediate actions to safeguard the national carrier's future and the majority of jobs it supports. The first is to right-size our workforce. What a way of saying it. To right-size our workforce. They're going to have to cut people, everyone. Fleet and capital spending for a world that has less flying for an extended period. The second is restructuring to deliver ongoing savings across the group's operations in a changed market. And the third is recapitalizing through an equity raising that will strengthen our balance sheet and accelerate our recovery, and also water down the value of all of the investments that people hold in the airline. Impact on our people, and this is what is making the biggest news. The actions we must take will have a huge impact on thousands of our people. This is something that weighs heavily on all of us, but the collapse of billions of dollars in revenue leaves us little choice if we are to save as many jobs as possible long term. More than 6,000 job losses we've announced today are people who have spent decades here. It's not unusual to have several members of one family working at Qantas and Jetstar. What makes this even harder is that right before this crisis hit, we were actively recruiting. We were gearing up for Project Sunrise. We were getting ready to buy planes. Now, we're facing a sudden reversal of fortunes, and it's no one's fault, but it's very hard to accept. Across the world, airlines are shrinking by up to 50%. To avoid anything on this scale, we will be extending the stand down for a large number of our people as we wait for the recovery we know is coming. But it could be 3 years. Do you want to be stood down for 3 years at Qantas, or do you want to be cut and get out to find other opportunities? I mean, if you've worked in decades for Qantas, you're going to be able to be employable by other businesses. Separate to job losses, about 15,000 people will remain stood down for some time, people for whom we have no work for now but will in the future. Almost half of those stood down will be back flying domestically, we think, by the end of the year. The remainder, mostly those supporting international flying, will return more slowly. I mean, this is a horrific situation for those people. It's worse than being fired. Being stood down in some ways is worse than being fired. At least when you're fired, it's done. The band-aid's ripped off. You can move on. Here, when you're some quasi-state with some zombie company, to me, it seems worse, really. They're stringing them on. Thousands of Qantas and Jetstar people have already found secondary employment during stand-down, and the feedback from those employees is incredibly positive, or employers. For many of our people on stand-down, JobKeeper has made all the difference. We're having good discussions with the government about possibly extending JobKeeper or some other form of support for those in the aviation industry who will be stood down for an extended period. Now, remember when Qantas was critical of potential bailouts for Virgin? This is the same thing, everyone. You've got to realize that. This is just using Qantas as a middleman for job seeker, essentially. We're also in dialogue with state and territory governments about their borders opening, because once that happens, we can get more of our people back to work. We will do the best we can to manage the impact on those leaving the Qantas group and on those continued standing down. We'll offer voluntary rather than compulsory redundancies as much as possible. We'll give support for career transition, and for those stood down, we'll give ongoing access to long service, annual leave, as well as our welfare programs. We will consult with relative unions over the coming days and weeks, who are well aware of the challenges facing the industry and I hope are ready to work with us. So recapitalization. As I mentioned, the Qantas Group has extremely bright prospects for recovery. And the faster we recover, the sooner more of our people can get back to work. He's just said that their predictions of international travel of 3 years away to return to 2019 levels. Is he basing the bright recovery on the fact that their balance sheet is good and they're watering down their shares more? Maybe I'm not seeing it. To help with this, we've announced an equity raising for the first time in a decade, which follows a long period of returning significant capital to shareholders. The proceeds from the raising up to $1.9 billion will strengthen our balance sheet and accelerate our recovery. And once we have recovered, this capital will help us take advantage of opportunities that emerge. There is a lot of detail on the equity raising and an update on our financial position in the materials released to the market today, recovery and beyond. This year was supposed to be one of celebration for Qantas. It's our centenary. Clearly, it's not turning out as planned. We draw strength from our long history. We know that no matter how tough it is in the moment, we always come back from crisis stronger than before. And we draw strength from our beginnings because Qantas was founded in turbulent times, straight after a world war and a devastating pandemic. So our centenary is perhaps a new beginning, the start of our new century. And while we have to make some very painful decisions, we have to focus on the future. We know that flying will return. Our people will be back in the skies. No aircraft will sit idle. New ones will be arriving, including more ultra-long-haul flights. We're confident because we've been through tough spots before. In 2013, Qantas faced an uphill battle. The turnaround that followed set us up for years of growth that was only derailed by the pandemic. Yes, but in the same speech, he's mentioning that no one's ever experienced this before. So, we know this new plan will get us back on track, back to growth, back to profit, back to pushing boundaries with things like Project Sunrise. In closing, I want to recognize our people, their dedication to the national carrier, even during this time of great upheaval and uncertainty. It's a big part of what currently carries them through. I want to also recognize our customers. Throughout all the recent turbulence, their support and loyalty has been amazing. From emails I've received, through the notes written on napkins to crews on board. Our commitment to you is unchanged. Millions want to see the people and places they love and need an airline to take them, particularly in a country the size of Australia. We will be smaller for a period of time. We will still deliver a high level of care and service and above all safety. We will continue to serve regional communities and support Australian tourism. As a national carrier, we have a very important job to do, a proud history to uphold, and a bright future to look forward to. So there you have it, everyone. The speech from the CEO of Qantas. 6,000 jobs gone. Many more continue to be stand down. Recapitalization of the airline. What does that tell us? And remember, we're only in the beginnings of this recession. It's going to be a tough one, guys. It's not going to be a V-shaped recovery. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the videos I make here, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. Support us using our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay, or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy our merch at HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next time.